So, I have a little bit of a problem with this stop chasing mentality that the world seems to have adopted. Um, and you hear it a lot like, don't, like, you're gonna work your whole life and then, you'll be 65 and you'll have all the money. You'll be like Scrooge McDuck and you're gonna think back and you're not gonna be happy. And you're gonna think, oh, I should have spent more time with my family. And like, stop chasing accolades and stop chasing money and fame and glory. And like, don't worry, like, what are you doing, like, working so hard in the gym? Like, stop chasing the approval of other people. Just like, be about you and be confident in who you are, and like self-love and self-care. And like, I mean, honestly, so much of it is true. But when you only listen to one perspective for too long, it's like it it tips the scale too much, and you start to think like you start to do the same thing in reverse. Like, they're saying stop chasing, like, you think happiness is going to be at the end of you being rich, and so like, be happy now, like, you're chasing the wrong thing. And then you only hear that perspective for too long. Like, okay, stop chasing, just be happy now, just be happy now. Okay, self-care, self-love. Don't worry about what people say. Like, don't try and like be famous, don't try and be rich. Okay, like, I'll do the opposite of that, because that's where I find happiness. And then you do the opposite, and you do it for too long, and you're doing the exact same thing. And all of a sudden you're like, you don't find purpose, you're not putting yourself out there. You're like chasing, like that moment where you're in your bathtub with your wine and your bubbles, and you're like, I need that moment. I need my self-care routine to be happy. Like, oh, I just wish that I could just have that. And like, you're chasing again. And like, you need both of those things. Like, if you're, I don't know, like, if you're always looking down one path and you think that that is the certain and only path to happiness or whatever, and all this crowd is telling you, chase your dreams and hustle and you'll be happy when eat shiz for 10 years, you'll be happy then when you're rich and you're strong and you're famous and whatever. The other half of people are like, no, man, like, just be happy with yourself now, the exact way you are. And like, listen to both of those things, because neither of them is true by itself. Like, I've run into this exact problem. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, if I just sacrifice now, then I'll be happy. But like, entertain the opposite often, because it's more than anything, it's like a season. Like, there's a season for you to chase. There really is. There's a season for you to chase your dreams and to grind and to sacrifice and to, like, live on that half of your brain. But there's also the season for self-care and hanging out and self-love and relationships. But like, if you only think about one, you'll end up going too hard down that path. And literally, it's the same thing on either side. You're chasing something that you feel will someday make you happy. Like, someone gave me this formula, and this is the formula to find happiness. Okay, then I'll do it as hard as I can. And that's not really it. I think it's just I freaking don't listen to me. I don't know. But I do know that it's not certain. It's somewhere in the middle. And you're always going to have to keep recalibrating. And you're always like, you can find purpose by relentlessly attacking a goal or the hope of a better future. And that I do believe. And that's kind of more the grinder mindset, where you're like, okay, if I relentlessly go after this thing, being a bodybuilder, or being a real estate investor, or being amazing at summer sales, you will find purpose in that. if that's really what you want at the end of the day. But that's not the whole equation. And I don't know exactly where it is. I think it's different for everyone. But there is a point when the scale starts to tip. And, you can work relentlessly and still have time for the self-care and the thinking about, with the other part of your brain, thinking creatively, doing things that have no practical value. Like that is huge. Like if you're reading self-help books and, motivational books and motivational podcasts, because in your brain that's like, well, that has practical value. It's helping me improve. Great, totally agree. Do something every once in a while that has no practical value. Like listen to a book, like a fictional book, just every once in a while. Like I am not a proponent that you need perfect balance. That it's like, I am both hustling and enjoying the same amount. Like, no, you can like go after your thing, be into it, obsess over it, but realize that it's okay occasionally to remind the other half of your brain that it exists. The creative half, the artistic half, the compassionate half, the half that's playful for no reason. And I actually also would say that one of the ironic things is that using both halves of your brain, the one that you're neglecting in an attempt to improve the other one, like I'm focused on my hustle half and not my like creative, compassionate half, would help you with your hustle half. Like if you're the hustler, whatever, if you were to incorporate some of the brain waves from your compassionate, creative half, it would improve your hustle half. Like you think that like Steve Jobs, you think that all he did was like talk about success and like talk about hustling, and he just like was like grinding? No, like he was a creative person. He went to college and learned about like typeface. And if you're too deep into the grinder hole to where everything you're consuming is about mental toughness, is about success, is about numbers, is about crunching, like you can actually miss out on opportunities to improve those things because you're not being creative enough. And so like Steve Jobs is a perfect example, like when he was in college, he took classes for interface design and like, different things like that. He was artistic and he thought a lot with that half of his brain and incorporated that into a killer work ethic and, almost like an authority of his own life that he took. He incorporated that. Now, those of you who are dominated by the creative half, the same is also true. If you're like, well, yeah, I'm not really like the hustler type person. I don't believe in those Instagram quotes that are telling me that I can do it if I wake up at 4 a.m. If you're not that person, if you're the creative side and you're trying to find the meaning in things, and you're trying to find the feeling, and connection and everything is not based on its practical use. That's not what gives it value. That's totally fine too. But remember that the other half of your brain will help you as well. Even the most creative people, even if you don't care about money, even if you don't care about success or fame or anything like that, like the discipline, the grind, the mental toughness side of your brain will help you creatively. I'm telling you, if you're a writer and you incorporate this into your writing and you think, well, I just write for the passion and the purity and to express my art and to speak my truth, those are all great. But incorporate a little bit of discipline in that too. There's no great writer, I would guess. There is no famous writer that didn't sit and write thousands of crappy things. You make your craft. You have to. And a lot of it's going to come out crappy. And so if you're all purist and you're all artistic and you're all just like, let it flow for me, I'm not a robot, this is my art, and you're stubborn and you don't just have the mindset to put in the reps, then you're going to struggle. The artistic people that succeed are the ones that are artistic, but they're disciplined. And so I don't know. I've seen so much about this on social media, and there's like, it's almost as if there's two camps forming, and they're pretending like these two things are in opposition. But they're not. In fact, not only are they not in opposition, I really don't think you can succeed in one without the other. You need the creative, the compassionate, the pure, and the, find meaning in everything side of your brain. And you need the discipline, the numbers, the practical, the logistical, the mental tough, the David Goggins, the Jocko Willings, and you pull out examples of your life that are, people that have made it, that have really made it, and they're a combination. They're almost always a combination of the two. So there's no one right way. Definitely don't ask me, because what do I know? But it's okay to lie somewhere in the uncertainty of those two camps, because honestly, that's probably the truest thing that you're going to hear, is that no one really knows. Like Elon Musk doesn't know, your mom doesn't know, Steve Jobs doesn't know, the Bible doesn't know, your boss doesn't know, your roommate doesn't know. Like, we're all just trying to figure it out. And when you hear people talking a little too certain, a little too often about what it is you need to do to find your nirvana in your life, and they have the way, and they have the secret formula to success and happiness and whatever, just know that they don't know, just like you don't. Maybe they've had good experiences, and maybe they have a part of it. I'm sure they do. A lot of successful people you should definitely emulate. But no one knows. So